So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. So yesterday was essentially me brainstorming what I'm going to be doing. Today, I'm going to give you a little bit more of the practical steps of what I have come up with in the past few days. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Right, so today I'm going to go over my client acquisition strategy. So my macro goals, which is client acquisition strategy, service strategy, and then after that, I'm going to go through my micro strategy, specifically referring to outreach, macro strategy. So we're going to start with the client acquisition strategy. It's pretty simple, three steps. Outreach, the biggest offer there is a free brand review, which is essentially me going to companies and saying, hey, I like your branding. I have some things you can do better. Let's schedule a time. I can meet, give you a free brand review, give you some pointers, give you some, provide some value for them. That's really, especially starting out. That's not to sell them. It's not a sales call. It might evolve into that, but right now it's really just providing value. And then the other thing is getting referrals. So outreach, offer free brand review. 2, provide value through the brand review. And then 3 is asking for referrals. So the biggest thing is at the end of that, I'm going to say, hey, you're doing great with your branding, or here's these things you can change. Just so you know, I do own this branding agency. If you would like to move forward with us or get more information, let me know and we can work it from there. I don't have time. And I think that's going to be the biggest line is I don't have time to do a sales call right now because I won't. So I'm going to do that and I will have already taken notes from their brand review. So I already know what the things are that I'm going to need to change. I already know probably a good direction to take the brand. So then at the point of the sales call, I can say, hey, I'm going to do X, Y, Z for you. And then I don't even have to ask like the questions about like, all right, so tell me about your company, because I will have already gotten that information, which will be very helpful. That being said, the main purpose of the brand reviews is going to be to get referrals. That's going to be the absolute biggest part of this, because, you know, if they have somebody where there's like, oh yeah, business owners know other business owners. That's just how it is. Business owners are going to know other business owners that are going to need a logo, need some branding, need some ads made, etc., etc. So after the initial brand review, we go into a sales call where this goes into the service strategy. That is where I would sign the client and collect the payment. Now I've broken this down a little bit. So for my starter program, they have to pay 100% upfront because it's a little bit on the cheaper side. So they're going to have to pay 100% upfront. Classic, they're going to have to pay 75% upfront. Elite, 50% upfront. Now here, there's a tiny bit of wiggle room. However, the bare minimum that I am going to do, and that I'm not even going to say that I'm going to recommend, is 30%. And that's like if the client pitches a massive fit, about 50% upfront. Which shouldn't, because that's kind of the industry standard, but you never know. Some clients are just like that. So 30 is the absolute lowest that I'm ever going to go as far as upfront payment. So sales call, sign the client. I've said this before to some of my friends. If they haven't paid you, they're not your client. So keep that in mind. Next part of the service strategy is to put their info into the CRM. So essentially what that is just the system that I'm going to use to maintain and help the customers make sure that everything's up to date, and also so that they can see the process. I'm going to use Trello for that. Eventually, I'd like to move to Agency Flow, but I can't afford that right now, just starting out. So sign the client, make sure they pay, put their info into the CRM, carry out the service. Now, some of the services I offer are very extensive. As of now, if I just have one of each, or the service that's going to require the most work, if I sign a client with that package, I currently can take care of everything in a month. However, since I'm trying to keep a 1 month turnaround, once I start getting more and more clients kind of going at the same time, definitely going to need to be outsourcing. So I'm going to outsource. I've got a few friends from design school that I'm going to outsource to first. If all of them say no, or if all of them are already signed on, then I will go to outside contractors and then give them a percentage of the project. So to recap, service strategy: sign the client, put them in the CRM, carry out the service, and then the last thing is delivery. The only way that I'm going to deliver the end product to them is if they have paid the full amount. So with my monthly services, they have to pay the full amount up front. With my other design services, I'm not going to give them their product. I'm not going to give them their logo, their branding, anything like that until they have paid, until they have paid. And then this is just a to-do list, writing contracts, getting all that stuff taken care of. So now we're going to move into the micro strategy. So outreach strategy is going to be the biggest portion, specifically while I'm starting out. So I've got this broken up into five different outreach tactics or ways that I can outreach. So I've got email, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and over the phone. So then what I did is I divided those up in percentages of how I am going to allocate my efforts, if that makes sense. So LinkedIn, 40% on LinkedIn. Email, probably not going to send any emails, because think about it, you never read emails, or at least not marketing emails. Instagram, 25%, Facebook, 25%, and cold calling over the phone is going to be 10%. So then I'm not all the way through this process, so just bear with me. I've only got LinkedIn, Instagram, and email done. So LinkedIn, I just need to look into the pro membership. There's a lot of marketing and business stuff, value that's there. Sponsored messaging is just essentially how I would be sending out those messages. And then essentially there, I'm just going to use the brand review hook, or the free brand review hook, because I think that's a really big selling point, which I think will be really, really good. Because who doesn't like free value? Who doesn't like a free consultation meeting? And I'm going to be giving them a ton of value, which I'm kind of second guessing in a lot of ways, because I'll be giving away for free what I could probably be charging for. But I think in the end, it'll work to get referrals, and then those referrals can either get their brand review and sign, or get their brand review and get more referrals. And so then they end up kind of just doing the work for me. Email, something I'm going to need to figure out is finding out whether the email format matters. Find out which works better, which is, do you want just the text, maybe my logo at the end, or would they want logo at the top and a nice picture and other things below it? I'm leaning towards something somewhere in the middle where it's nicely formatted, but not like over the head, so that when you open it, you see, oh, that's a marketing email. Yeah, I don't want what you're selling. Then the other thing I'm going to need is figuring out how to get their emails, like get their email address. That's going to be a really big thing and probably pretty hard to do, because I know that there's some people that will put together a big list for you, but you have to pay for that. And those are not always very well prospected leads. They're probably not going to be somebody that you can really work with long term. So then last thing that I'd kind of toyed around with is getting a branding newsletter, which is essentially just the brand review on a newsletter that would be, hey, here's some things that you can do in your branding. Probably just a once a week, maybe even once a month, probably once a week. Just a little like, hey, remember, if you are branding your company, if you are a designer, just getting that kind of stuff. That way I kind of establish myself in the space as being credible. Because even if the newsletter is for designers, and even if designers are doing it, you never know what could happen, because the more people that sign up there, the more people I have access to. And you never know, there might be some people who are doing design right now. They might be doing it on the side and they have the ear of their boss. They might be starting a non-design company later. They might outsource work to me. you never know what could happen there. And then also you have the email addresses of people who care about branding. And so even if they're just reading it and trying to do it themselves, and then they go, man, I just don't have the time for this. I'm just gonna call him, see what his prices are. I'm gonna see if he can help me, and then just go from there. So then my biggest strategy for Instagram is finding e-commerce businesses. So like drop shipping is probably one of the biggest ones that I'm really gonna shoot for, because they tend to look like cheap Chinese products, and that's something that I could definitely help them with and make them look more like an established company. And I think that will really drive their sales, because if they've got a crappy logo that they made on Fiverr for $5 or $30 or $20, whatever, they've got a bad logo, they got bad product images, all of that stuff bad. It's really not going to sell. Not saying it can't sell, but if you don't have good branding, you don't have good pictures on your page, they're just not going to look as good. They're not going to be as beneficial. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you'd like to follow the whole journey of me building Zorns Media from the ground up. Thank you for watching again, and we'll see you next time.